Hey guys, so today I am making a bunch of scrunchies. So I thought that I would take you guys through how I make my scrunchies. So today I'm going to show you guys how I make the scrunchies with the ears. So today we're going to make a plaid scrunchie with the ears. So you have to cut a large rectangle, which this one is 20 inches by 4 inches. And then I cut a smaller rectangle for the little ears, which was 9 inches by about 2.5. And then I basically folded the rectangle, and then chopped the top corner off at an angle so that you end up with this shape. So we're going to start with the main scrunchie, so set that aside, and then gotta figure out, this is the right side, so fold this in half with right sides together, and then you're gonna sew along right here. I'm going to serge it because it's faster. Okay, so I've serged these short sides together, so now I have a loop, which this is the right side. So now I'm going to take this to the iron and iron the serging to one side. Okay, so now this has been ironed. The serging is ironed to this side. So now we're going to take this to the sewing machine. Okay, so I've got my loop here. So first what we're going to do is turn it inside out like this. Let's turn it inside out like this, and then I like to start with this side up. So the serging is on the bottom, and then take this top bit and the top side of the loop here and just fold it into the center. And then what you're going to do is wrap the outside part around it and match up your seam. And then start sewing along this edge, making sure that you're not catching the part that you stuffed into the inside of this loop. Okay, so I like to start close to my seam so that I know that I have it matched up. And I'm just sewing approximately 1/4 inch from the edge. This honestly doesn't need to be too specific. Okay, so sewing along this edge, making sure I'm not catching what's on the inside. And then once you get towards the end here, then you're going to grab the inside part and pull it further out in front of your sewing machine foot, and make sure the part on the inside is out of the way, and continue lining up this edge and sew further. And then you're just going to continue doing that until you reach the part where you started. So now I have reached the part where I started, So I'm just going to sew until about here, leaving this about 1 inch gap so you can turn it right sides out. Trim our thread tails. Let's find the other ones. Okay. So now you can see here that, let me pull it a little bit further. So it's sewn, and we have a gap here, which we're going to use to pull everything right sides out. So just grab what's on the inside there and pull it out through the hole, and voila. Now you can just take this to the iron and iron it flat. And here, because I didn't trim my fraying ends or anything or finish my raw edges, I have these threads sticking out, so I'm going to trim those away also and iron it so it's nice and flat. Okay, now that we have our nice ironed loop all turned right sides out with a small hole in it, then we need to cut a piece of 1/4 inch elastic. So I've already got this one cut. It's, I believe, 9 inches, 8.5. All right, so 8.5 inches, and then take a safety pin and put it through one end and thread your elastic through the loop, through the hole in the seam. Just make sure not to let the end go through the hole, so hang on to that. I have done that way too many times. Alright, so when you reach the hole, pull both ends of the elastic out as far as you can, like this. You can take your safety pin off. And then what we're going to do is try to make sure there's no twists in the elastic. I mean, it's not really a huge deal, and then you're just gonna overlap the ends of the elastic and sew them together. Alright, so set it to zigzag. I just use the default. I don't think it's that important for this. And then, like I said, overlap the ends of your elastic and try to get them under your presser foot the best you can. And sew back and forth over it a couple times. Alright. Pull it out. Oh, didn't put my needle up. There we go. Okay, so got the ends sewn together. Let's trim our thread tails. There we go. All right, so got our ends overlapped. Now you can just take your scrunchie and just pull on it to get the elastic inside. So now all we have to do to finish off the scrunchie part is sew up this hole with hand stitch. Okay, so now we're going to close up this hole that we left in the scrunchie. So we're gonna need a hand sewn needle, some thread. I always save my thread until it's completely gone, because even though I can't use this much thread with my sewing machine, I can still use this when I hand sew. So I hate to waste thread, so yeah. Okay, so first you'll thread your needle and I like to do a double layer, so pull it through the needle like that and then trim that end. So then you have two tails, try to get them somewhat even at the end, and then you'll tie a knot, a double or triple knot in the end. Oopsie. Oh, that knot didn't work very well. There we go. Okay, so you got triple knot right there. And trim the tails. Toss that. Okay, now grab your scrunchie, and here's our hole that we're trying to close up. So hold it tight so it's all even and lying nice, and then insert your needle on one side, pull it taut, and then go through the other side. Now when you go through the other side, try to not go all the way through so you can't see it on the outside. I'm just going through the folded layer there, and then pull that tight, then catch the other side, pull that tight, and just continue on like that until you reach the end. Okay, so we've reached the end. So now we're going to trim off the needle like that. So you're going to have two thread tails, and so you can kind of pull apart your thread tails. And then I like to sew, or not sew, I like to tie a square knot. Okay, so here's your scrunchie. So you can stop here if you want, but now we're going to go on to make the little ears for it. Okay, so now we have our piece to make the ears. So you want to put it right with the right side up. So this is the right side. And then fold it so that the edges are even. You can put a couple pins to hold this in place if you want, or you can just take it straight to your machine and just sew it. Honestly, it's not that large of a piece, so you probably don't really need pins, but I'm just going to put a couple in just to keep everything in place. Okay, so we have it right sides together. So now what we're going to do is So about 1/4 inch from the edge along here, stopping about there, and then along here, stopping about in there somewhere, so that we're gonna leave a hole right there so we can turn it right sides out. Okay, so I've got this sewn. Now, so there's this hole in the top that we left so we can turn it, and now I'm going to, got a little thread tangle going on there, but anyways, now we are going to trim the fabric away from the corner so that it will lie nicer. Do that on both sides. There we go. Okay, and now turn this right sides out. Alright, that's good enough for me. Now I'm going to take this to the iron and iron this nice and flat. Okay, so I've got this ironed nice and flat and pretty. And now we just need to close up this hole by hand sewing the same way that we did the scrunchie. Alright, so that's all sewn up, and the very last thing we have to do is just tie this onto the scrunchie. So I usually like to tie it over the seam just because I think it's nice to try to cover it up, but it honestly doesn't really matter. So I just tie it in a single knot and pull it as tight as I can. Just kind of trying to get the shape that I want and making sure it's super tight so that it never comes untied. So I'm never planning on untying this. So and there we go. Done.